So I wasn't going to make this video because I thought to myself, you know what? I've had me chance. Everyone else has beat me to it. I'm done. However, I then had a little watch of those videos of people covering this topic, and I realized, hang on a second, no one's covering this correctly. They're just seeing a statement, making a whole video about a little bit of a statement, and not going into the detail that they need to go into. So I'm going to go into the detail again, like I have done for the last 2 versions of videos around this topic of Islam Makhachev potentially using an IV at UFC 284 illegally. And a lot of people have been posting this little clip of Jeff Nowitzki. A lot of people have been talking about the statement that was made by the Commission of Western Australia, but no one's putting together all of the information. I've got another bit of information at the end of this video where Alexander Volkanovski's coach, Joe Lopez, came out and said that they have evidence. So maybe after the Australian Commission, which I'm going to show you in a second, said that they were looking for evidence and they're calling out to anyone who has evidence to come and show them, maybe Team Volkanovski needs to put forward their evidence. This investigation's not done by any means whatsoever. This isn't over. So we're going to start straight away here. A lot of people saw this little bit of a clip from an interview with Jeff Nowitzki, and this is what it said, and people took this as, Islam Makhachev's innocent, he's done nothing wrong, let's move on. Which just isn't the case. Let's play it right now. Hopefully you can hear this.
What happened with Islam? Is that an easy question or is that a hard question?
What happened with Islam Makhachev regarding the IV use at UFC 284?
I think it is. I think the Australian Commission put out a statement last night stating there's no credible evidence of him violating any of their rules.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I'd leave it at that.
That's crazy to me. First of all, it's crazy to me that I think we leave it at that. That's very sad. So that tells me, in my opinion, first of all, he's correct. They did come out and say, which I'm about to show you right now, that the Athletic Commission that regulated UFC 284, the Western Australian Athletic Commission, said it had no evidence that fighters broke its rules by illegally using an IV, but those with information to the contrary are invited to come forward. That's a very important bit, and we're going to get into the other parts of this. There are other parts of the statement as well as this video goes on, but I think that was very bad from Jeff Nowitzki, and it's sad that he's saying we're going to leave it at that. You know what I mean? Because there needs to be a further investigation here. And there also needs to be pressure on Alexander Volkanovski's team, on Dan Hooker's team. I know they're 2 different teams, but all of the people that are making accusations need to be held to account. They need to be investigated to see if they have evidence. You can't just make this accusation, because the last thing we want is to have a rematch down the line between Alexander Volkanovski and Islam Makhachev. And the whole narrative in the build-up is going to be, you used an IV, we know you used an IV, and all of this IV stuff is not going to go away. And it's just going to tarnish the fight at UFC 284 and a potential rematch that they may have down the line. I don't want to constantly have this information out there, because we're not going to pressure everyone that is accusing Islam Makhachev of using an IV to actually show what evidence they have. You know what I mean? So I don't like that Jeff Nowitzki's just taking the usual USADA approach of, we're not even going to try and see if anything happened. We're just going to take what the commission said and let's just leave it at that. I hate that USADA does this, because that was the same energy they had when Brock Lesnar was injected with Bane serum, okay? Like a DC villain. Okay, was injected with Bane serum and chucked around Mark Hunt. You know what I mean? On the source, clearly, and they knew about it, but we're not going to follow up on that. That's it. The commission said what they said, and we're not going to do anything about it. So I feel like we need a counter-investigation on the quality of the evidence that the accusers have here. You know what I mean? We can't just end this here and have Team Volkanovski and Team CKB as well just mouthing off about the IV for the entire time after this fight and tarnishing the fight at UFC 284 and further tarnishing a potential rematch and leaving that cloud over the head of Islam Makhachev. We need to get to the bottom of this. And it annoys me that USADA's just like, oh no, the commission said this, so we're going to move on. And he also left out some parts that the commission said, which I'm going to play you here as well. The Athletic Commission that regulated UFC 284 said it has no evidence that fighters broke its rules by illegally using an IV, but those with information to the contrary are invited to come forward. Dan Hooker, Joe Lopez, Eugene Behrman. I showed you a video last week on my channel where Eugene Behrman said they know that IVs were used by Team Makhachev at UFC 284. Okay, so that's basically them saying, hey, all the people that are accusing, now's your time, we're looking for evidence. So Jeff Nowitzki kind of brushes this off and leaves out the second half of this statement and just says, and that's it, and we're going to move on. But the commission is actively looking for evidence so they can even begin their investigation. Obviously, when IVs are banned in Australia, Team Makhachev, if they did use an IV, are not going to ask the commission for an IV that's illegal under their rule set. You know what I mean? So the commission saying, we didn't give anyone an IV, is more clearing themselves of wrongdoing rather than clearing Islam Makhachev of wrongdoing. And I've seen a lot of people like, Makhachev's name is cleared. He did nothing wrong, and the commission proves it. No, the commission is proving that they didn't authorize any IV usage. Okay? And they're looking for evidence to begin an investigation, but everyone's just brushing over it and saying, see? Team Volkanovski and Dan Hooker and Eugene Behrman and all his coaches, they're just lying. Makhachev, Jeff Nowitzki proved it. Makhachev's completely innocent. This isn't over yet. You know what I mean? We need to get to the bottom of this still, and everyone's just brushing over it. The Combat Sports Commission of Western Australia does not condone any form of cheating within this combat sports industry. Western Australia Combat Sport Commission Chair Bob Casera stated in a prepared release sent to MMA Fighting. They were asked a question about Makhachev's IV use, and this is a very important thing to mention as well here in the second part, the second half of this paragraph that you can see on screen. Very important bit of information to include that no one's covering, because everyone just sees a headline and makes a video out of it. Like, you got to do your due diligence on this if you're going to be giving people information. The Western Australia Commission did not answer directly the question whether Makhachev made any declaration pre or post event of IV use, but said it has clear codes and policies that align with the World Anti-Doping Agency and bans the misuse of intravenous drips. So they are not even clearing Makhachev's name. They're clearing their own name, is what the commission did. But everyone saw the headline and they're making videos and they're making statements saying Makhachev's cleared of wrongdoing, an investigation's been done and he's not been found guilty of anything. He's innocent. Like, no. Read the actual contents rather than just looking at a headline and making statements about things. They just said, we follow the policies and codes of WADA and, it's banned the use of intravenous drips. They never even answered the question in relation to Makhachev's use of an IV whatsoever because they can't. They don't know. Obviously, Team Makhachev are not going to ask the commission that IVs are banned under for IVs during a fight under that commission. Hello? And then we move on to the last paragraph here. And then we'll get to what Volkanovski's coach has to say about it. The commission has no conclusive evidence that any athlete at UFC 284 event held at RAC Arena has breached WADA or the commission's policies. Of course, they're clearing their name. Kusera wrote, the commission has not received a complaint relating to any athlete at UFC 284 event held at RAC Arena. The commission invites anyone with relevant information to contact us. So they're looking for information. And this is where I challenge, massively challenge, and we need to pressure them on this as well. Because as I said at the start of this video, we need to end this so we can actually just look at the fight and say, that was the result, there's no wrongdoing, and we can move on and actually have some closure on this. Because if we don't pressure Volkanovski, Joe Lopez, who I'm about to show you an interview of, Eugene Behrman, Dan Hooker, if we don't pressure them to follow up on their claims by trying to provide evidence, because it's on the onus of it's on the accuser to provide the evidence. That's basic court of law. You can't accuse someone of something, and as Dan Hooker said on Twitter, prove me wrong. No. The accuser, and this is how the law has worked for a very long time in these types of cases, The accuser must prove why he is correct in what he's saying. You know, there's a famous interview from the Cray twins a long time ago where they didn't sort of show any evidence of where they were and what alibis they had to get out of a crime. And their legal guy, and this goes back 100 or so years, says it's on the onus of the prosecutor to provide evidence to prove his accusations. We're not going to provide evidence to our defense because we don't have to. So that's the point. You know what I mean? So we really need to pressure Team Volkanovski, CKB, and I'm going to show you why we need to pressure them. So listen to this right here. This is an interview on the All-Star page. I'll shout out his page, the All-Star. I'm going to move my face over to the other side of the screen here. I'll become this man who's asking the questions for a second. And we're going to see what Joe Lopez, the coach of Alexander Volkanovski, has to say. This is a new interview. Listen to this.
A lot of people don't believe that they got an IV. They definitely got an IV.
A lot of people don't believe that they got an IV. They definitely got an IV.
I think they're trying to palm it off to one of their teammates, and I think he's put his hand up for it. Whether Islam took it, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't accuse the guy of it.
So they're not accusing Islam Makhachev. They're just accusing Team Makhachev because they have an understanding that no matter what, and this is matching up with what Eugene Behrman said, someone at Team Makhachev requested IVs and used an IV. That's the evidence they claim they have. They can't say Makhachev directly did it, but they know that someone on Team Makhachev who fought at UFC 284, Eugene Behrman said the same thing. You can check my recent video on this as well on the channel. Used an IV for UFC 284. But we move on.
Because maybe he didn't. Yeah, maybe it was his teammate.
Maybe it was Zubaira Tukagov, in other words.
But, like I said, there's smoke there. There is definitely some smoke there.
There's definitely some smoke there. And we move on to another statement. And this is where he has to follow up after making a statement like this. Because this is exactly what the commission is asking for. We go to 2654. He says they know that someone on Team Makhachev used an IV. 2654. And this is the important bit. Listen carefully.
You can't expect to come to our country and not expect it to get back to us that you went out and tried to get IVs, you know.
You can't expect to come to our country and expect it not to get back to us that you used an IV. Okay? And that's what Dan Hooker said in his original sequence of tweets as well. Now listen to this.
Because that is, they did get IVs.
They did get IVs. And he's saying that outright like he knows it's true.
That is, they can't deny that.
They can't deny that.
Who took it, how they took it, what they put in it, who knows?
He's got wild eyes, this guy. Jesus. Looks like a demon took hold of him, you know what I mean? Maybe it's the spirit of McGregor. Spirit of McGregor's career taking hold of Joe Lopez to slander Team Khabib. Who knows? But either way, you know, who took it, who on their team took it, who knows? But he's saying we know that they had IVs. And we know that someone on Team Makhachev that fought at UFC 284 used an IV. Could have been Zubaira Tukagov because he did struggle making weight and failed to make weight. Upper weight class, though. So why would he need an IV? Who knows? But still, listen to this very last bit.
But we know that for a fact. Yeah,
we know that for a fact.
We've got that evidence.
We've got that evidence. So here's what I'm going to say. Listen to that again.
But we know that for a fact. Yeah, we've got that evidence.
We've got that evidence. So here's what I'm going to say at the end of this video. There's a lot more to listen to here. Just to double down, and he doubles down on what he just said. Here's what I'm going to end this video with. You've got that evidence? Hey, let's not use this as a little game, okay, to diminish the win of Islam Makhachev, or try and give an excuse for Alexander Volkanovski's loss, or to use this to bargain and chip your way into a rematch and stir up a bit of controversy and drama, and to use this as a bit of a trash-talking token to use in the build-up of a potential rematch between the two of them. If you've got the evidence that they used an IV, the commission's asking for it. So we need to hound these guys. Bring forward the evidence. Because we're not, this ain't a playground. We're not kids. You know what I mean? This is serious stuff that's going to linger over the head of Makhachev's career forever. And that ain't good. That's not cool. So we need to, like, really follow through on this. We've got the evidence. Well, the commission's asking for it. So if you've got it, give it to the commission. Overturned. Volk's legacy saved. No more loss on Volk's legacy whatsoever. No contest. Potential immediate rematch on the line. There's no reason for you not to give the commission evidence. Because it would help you. You know what I mean? Volk would have another chance at the lightweight belt. Immediately, probably. Against the winner of Oliveira Dariush. Most likely. As a sorry from the UFC. Because Makhachev potentially cheated. So if you're going to come out and say that you've got evidence, the commission's asking for it. So what's the hold up? That's my problem with Team Volk and Eugene Behrman and all those guys. If you've got the evidence, the commission's begging you for it right now. They don't have anything. They cleared themselves of wrongdoing, not Makhachev. They want to launch an investigation. They can't until they have evidence from an outside source that has some. You claim you have it? Give it to them. And make it quick, because this is getting annoying and we're acting like children.
But we know that for a fact. We've got that evidence. And a lot of guys are writing this and that on social media, saying it's all false, bad.
Saying it's all false and bad. And
we're bad losers or anything.
And people saying that they're bad losers and they're sore about losing to Islam Makhachev. Hey, you want all that to stop? The evidence you claim you have, give it to the commission. All that stuff on social media about you guys being sore losers and all the slander towards your team will be completely gone. And you'll prove yourself right, like an accuser should.
I'm telling you, I'm probably one of the most honest people out there. I always say it how it is. And that part I know is for sure, People have backflipped on a lot of things, but there's a smoking gun out there, Who it shot? I can't accuse anybody because I can't accuse anybody of anything because I wasn't there. I don't know for sure.
Wasn't there, don't know for sure.
But there is a smoking gun.
So bring forward the smoking gun that you have, that you claim you have. And honestly, do I think they're all lying about it? No, I don't think they're completely lying about the situation. I really don't think they're lying about the whole situation just to slander Islam Makhachev's win and take it away from him. I don't think their whole team would make up this entire lie because they've lost fights before. People on their team have lost fights before. We've never had these types of accusations. But I do want to say this. It can't end here. So for Jeff Nowitzki to take the USADA approach of we're not actually trying to catch anyone cheating, we're just getting paid to do our job. Because USADA, I don't know if I can say this outright without facing repercussion, but it seems like they don't try and catch people these days because Jones has been tested twice this year and he was barely tested last year, but they tested Yuri Prohaska 40 times. So it feels like they ain't even trying. So I don't want people to see USADA go, and that's where it ends. The commission said they don't have anything, so that's where it ends. No. We need to push on the accusers to back up their claims with evidence. I don't think they're lying. That's my lean. I don't think the whole of their team are lying about the exact same thing with the exact same story that they know and they have evidence of Team Makhachev getting IVs to use for UFC 284 in the build-up of his fight against Alexander Volkanovski, potentially. The commission needs that information, though. Otherwise, shut up about it. You know what I mean? Because you're just ruining Makhachev's legacy. And Volk's looking bad. Because Volk's the one who ain't really saying much. You know what I mean? It's everyone around Volk saying this and saying that. And Volk's just sort of like nudging towards the idea of it. But Volk's not the guy really coming out and saying that we have evidence. And you know what I mean? So, it's doing everyone harm. Let's end it. Bring the evidence forward. The commission's asking you for it. See you later.